On behalf of the Association and its Board of Directors, I would like to offer sincere thank you to all those participants who gave of their time and their places of work so we could successfully complete this young worker safety video. It is with your health and safety in mind that we produced this video, so we ask that you give it the time and the attention it deserves. I suggest that you take the learnings from the video back to your homes and your schools to make them safer places. As you move into your young working careers, remember to have fun, but keep your health and safety and the health and safety of others foremost in your minds. We hope you enjoy the video. Thank you, and have a safe day.
Hi, I'm Erin Sully. Entering the workforce is going to be an exciting experience, and you've got a lot to look forward to. You're going to have lots of questions. Where will I be working? What will I be doing? How much will I be paid? But have you asked, will I be safe? Over the next few minutes, we're going to take a look at health and safety in the workplace. I'll make you aware of your responsibilities to yourself, your co-workers, and to your employer. More importantly, I'll talk about your employer's responsibilities to you as they apply to health and safety. We'll also take a look at some real and potential hazards and some solutions to keep you safe. So, let's begin. Starting a new job, whatever it is going to have its challenges and rewards. But whatever job you're going to do, you should always be safety conscious because there are many different types of hazards in every workplace. Think about this. It's a fact that young workers in Canada are more likely than adults to be injured on the job. However, being new to a job and working with hazards is what puts young workers at risk for injury, not their age. Federal and provincial governments have legislated the Occupational Health and Safety Act and regulations for your safety. This act imposes certain duties on employers to ensure that workers are provided with a healthy and safe work environment. You should know that the Act places a legal duty on employers to ensure the health, safety, and welfare of their workers. The Act also requires each worker to take reasonable care to protect his or her own health and safety and that of co-workers and other persons at or near the workplace.
Until I got this job, I had no experience with health and safety issues. I just didn't think about it. Now I think about it all the time.
Once you officially start your job, you have 3 basic rights. These are the right to know. You have the right to know if or what hazards exist in your workplace. The right to participate. You have the right to participate in decisions that affect health and safety in the workplace through participation as a workplace safety representative or a member of a safety committee. The right to refuse. You have the right to refuse to do any work which you have grounds to believe is dangerous to your health or safety or that of a co-worker or another person at the worksite. Now, what does all this mean? Where health and safety is concerned, it means that employers must take every precaution to protect you, the employee, from injuries in the workplace. All jobs, no matter what they are, will have some degree of risk associated to the hazards. Some hazards may be minor, others might be serious and could result in injury or even be life-threatening. Some hazards may be obvious, but others may not be seen so easily. You must always be safety conscious and on the lookout for actual and potential hazards, for you may be the one who is injured.
This is my first job, and when I came here I didn't really know what to expect. But everybody else treated me really great, the other employees, the customers, and it was really easy to learn. So one of the things that Elaine really stresses around here is safety, especially when we're cutting meat or cleaning the slicer or mopping the floor to make sure all the signs are out and all that kind of stuff. And it's a really good experience, and I really like working here.
We talked about the employer's responsibilities, but what about you? What are your responsibilities to your employer when it comes to workplace safety? You must abide by all safety rules and take reasonable care to protect your health and safety and the health and safety of others working with or around you. When working in any job, it is your responsibility to be diligent and always be on the lookout for potential hazards. You must immediately report any unsafe condition or act to your supervisor.
The guards are off.
Okay, well, let's go have a look at it.
You must refuse to use or work on any piece of machinery or equipment that you feel is unsafe or when proper training, instruction, or supervision has not been provided. You will not and cannot be held at fault and will not be disciplined for speaking with your supervisor about any health and safety questions or concerns.
Don't let yourself be pushed into work that you feel is unsafe. It will only cost you. You do have the right to refuse.
Companies have a zero-tolerance policy for possession or consumption of any amount of alcohol or illicit drugs while on the job, or for reporting to work in an unsatisfactory condition, like being hungover. When reporting for work, you are expected to be sober, well-rested and fit, and able to perform your job. Never engage in a course of conduct or comments that serves in any regard to annoy, harass, offend, or humiliate another individual. If you are being harassed, don't ignore it. Report it by contacting your supervisor. Everyone, regardless of their role or position, must conduct themselves in a respectful manner in the workplace. Disciplinary action may be taken against you if you don't conduct yourself in the appropriate manner. Employers are required to have a health and safety committee or worker representative on the job site, no matter what work is being performed. This committee or safety representative is responsible to monitor workplace safety, identify hazards, and collect information in order to recommend corrective action. Always ask for the names of your safety representative or committee members. Don't be afraid to speak with the safety representatives. They are there to help and offer advice.
You might find everyone has a different idea about health and safety issues. If you don't know what to do, ask your supervisor. They'll set you straight.
When you're hired, it's your employer's responsibility to properly train you for the work that you will be doing. This training may be basic. It might include the operation of office equipment. Perhaps you are qualified to use specific equipment. Although you may have experience, you'll still be required to be trained on the employer's equipment and to become familiar with specific hazards associated with their operation. Training may require you receiving instruction from your supervisor or other qualified person.
When I first came to work, I had no safety experience. I just didn't think about it. And then working around large pieces of equipment, I quickly realized exactly how important safety is because I'm the one at risk.
Never operate a piece of equipment unless you are properly trained. The employer is required to have written procedures on its safe operation. You should always read and understand this information before attempting to operate the equipment. And never operate a piece of equipment that has its safety guard removed. Depending upon the job, employers may require you to wear personal protective equipment or PPE. Here are some examples of PPE and their use. This may include hard hats, safety glasses, and safety footwear. A safety vest makes you highly visible in any situation. Proper gloves can protect your hands from numerous hazards. Hearing protection is crucial when working in areas where you can't talk to a person in a normal voice when they are standing next to you. A face shield or goggles must be worn when using an oxygen acetylene cutting torch. A face shield over safety glasses along with respiratory protection must be worn when grinding. A welding helmet is a necessity when welding. When using knives or other sharp utensils, puncture-resistant gloves should always be worn. It is your responsibility to ensure that the PPE that you are using is clean, operational, and free of defects that could compromise your safety. Failure to use PPE when required could prove costly to your health and safety. Check with your supervisor to determine when and/or what PPE must be used for the job you'll be doing.
I quickly learned the importance of using proper PPE. It's always given me the basic protection I needed.
All workplaces may have hazards or potential hazards. Employers are required to have a process in place to identify them and control them. If you're unsure of the hazards, ask. Let's take a closer look at some of the workplace hazards. If your work includes driving a vehicle, the use of cell phones and other social media devices, besides being a safety hazard, is prohibited by law. Pull off the road and be aware of the condition of the shoulder if you need to use one of these devices. While we're on the subject of driving, it is always good practice to back into a parking position. Some hazards may not be so obvious and therefore will be more difficult to spot. For example, hot coffee has the potential for a burn. Maybe you'll be working in the food preparation industry, which has many hazards. You'll require training in the safe operation of stoves and deep fat fryers, cutting equipment, or performing other work which may cause an injury. Hair length and loose clothing must be controlled while working around machinery. What about power cords on equipment and tools? Is that cord frayed or broken? Does a potential electrical shock hazard exist? If you have to lift an object, use your legs, not your back. Use mechanical lifting devices whenever possible. A wet floor is a possible slipping hazard. Items left in the way can cause someone to trip. Working around airborne chemicals and solvents, along with working in or around extreme temperatures, are other potential hazards.
Don't be afraid to report a hazard. Once I saw someone taking a shortcut to safety, and it was an accident waiting to happen. I was afraid to report it. I didn't want to step on anyone's toes. But I had to, because someone was going to get hurt.
All machinery and mechanical devices present great hazard potential. You must be properly trained on any equipment that you may be using. Remember, if you are unsure of the hazards in your workplace, ask. Ladders present a potential hazard and should always be checked for damage. They must extend 1 meter or 3 feet above the working platform. Ladders must be held in place or tied off to prevent slipping, shifting, or falling. Always maintain 3 points of contact when climbing a ladder: 2 hands and 1 foot, or 2 feet and 1 hand contact. Never step on the top 2 rungs. If you are working around a crane or sling loads, always be aware of the location of the equipment and the load. Never walk under a suspended load. Some work areas have a high volume of moving equipment where operators may have restricted visibility. Always make eye contact with the operator. This ensures the intentions of both parties are noted and understood. Employers often place signs around the workplace that identify known hazards. They are there for your protection and must be observed and obeyed.
I never thought anything would ever happen to me, but it did. I wasn't thinking about safety at all. It was the last thing in my mind. I was overconfident. I thought I knew everything, but I didn't. A few years ago, I was assisting in the removal of a drive chain on a large conveyor belt. A conveyor belt ran from the inside to the outside where I was working. The belt was being moved electrically, and a forklift supported the drive chain and hauled it off the conveyor as it was jogged ahead. After a few minutes, the belt jammed. Following proper procedures, I locked off the electrical power to the entire system, shutting it completely down. Thinking I was safe, I climbed up the belt to see if I could find the jam. Just as I swiped my hand across the belt, the forklift pulled on the drive chain.
Stop the machine! Quick!
I forgot to tell him what I was doing. I was lucky. Although my hand was severely damaged, the doctors managed to save it. I learned a safety lesson the hard way. Don't let something stupid happen to you.
Before undertaking any job, a hazard assessment must be completed. You can do this yourself, with your supervisor, or with your coworkers. If you notice an unsafe work condition or practice, improve the situation if possible, and report it immediately to your supervisor or management for documentation or corrective action. As a way of controlling hazards, many companies have procedures in place, such as lockout, tagout, and confined space entry. These procedures are in place to prevent injuries from occurring when working on systems, equipment, or machinery. The purpose of the lockout, tagout system is to ensure that all energy sources on a piece of equipment are completely shut down before any persons can start to work on it. Locks and an attached tag reading "Do not operate" indicate the equipment or system has been temporarily taken out of service. Never rely on others or what you've been told when it comes to equipment being shut off or secure and safe. Check it yourself. Confined spaces are usually easy to identify. If an area is tight and has a restricted entrance or exit, it is usually considered a confined space. Some examples of a confined space are manholes, tanks, air intakes, and piping. All persons entering a confined space must have proper confined space training. If you are required to work in a location where falling presents a hazard, then fall protection equipment must be worn. Fall protection equipment consists of a full body harness and a shock-absorbing lanyard. Be safe. Check with a supervisor if you are unsure or have any concerns about the use of fall protection equipment. Many workplaces contain hazardous material and dangerous goods. These materials may cause physical injury, damage to your health, property, and/or environment. Check with your supervisor to determine if any of these materials are in your workplace. Aerosol cans, compressed gas, flammable and combustible material, oxidizing material that may feed a fire, material causing immediate and life-threatening effects, material causing other toxic effects such as irritation, respiratory problems, or cancer, corrosive material that may cause destruction of skin or metals, dangerously reactive material that may have an explosive reaction. Occupational health and safety have designed guidelines for safely handling and transporting hazardous material. These guidelines should be followed at all times. If you are required to work with, handle, or transport hazardous materials, you must have training in the Workplace Hazardous Materials Information System, WHMIS, and the Transportation of Dangerous Goods, TDG. When handling these materials, proper protective equipment must be worn. Appropriate workplace controls can reduce or eliminate risk by reducing or eliminating exposure. Check with your supervisor if you have any questions or concerns about hazardous materials. Many employers have developed an emergency plan. They also should have an incident and near-miss reporting system. This system is used to investigate an event and to identify root causes of an incident. Additionally, the system is used to implement recommendations for preventing similar occurrences. An emergency plan may contain contact information including the names of key personnel, their email addresses, and 24-hour numbers which could include home, cell, pager, and/or fax numbers. On-site resources or equipment, emergency procedures, and more. Also, employers must have an accident or incident reporting procedure in place. While safety procedures and programs strive to provide a safe work environment, an accident, incident, and/or near miss may occur. Do you know what to do should an incident or accident occur and someone is injured? Do you know the emergency contact numbers and who is qualified to provide first aid? Do you know where the muster stations are located? This is where everyone gathers if the work area has to be evacuated. If you don't know, ask. As well as becoming familiar with your employer's emergency plan and accident reporting system, you should also know the location of their emergency resources. Know the location of first aid kits. Know the location of fire extinguishers and how to use them. Know the location of emergency showers and eye wash stations. Never attempt to use or operate any emergency equipment unless you are qualified.
When I started my new job, I was overwhelmed with all the things I had to learn. So a lot of new people, different situations. My supervisor stressed to me, though, that safety had to be a priority.
I hope you now have a better understanding of the importance of being safety conscious. Always remember your 3 basic rights. The right to know if or what hazards exist, the right to participate in decisions that affect workplace health and safety, and most importantly, the right to refuse work that you feel is unsafe. Like I said at the beginning, entering the workforce is going to be an exciting experience, and you've got lots to look forward to. Enjoy the experience and meeting new friends, but never forget about safety. Always remember, safety is an integral part of your workday. Keep it foremost on your mind as you go about your work.